All right, let's go to Leo Holman. Leo, I'm sorry we're behind on our schedule here. We got to stay on time because Diamond and Silk are coming up at 9 o'clock Central. But did you hear any of that, Leo?
I did. Who was that guest?
That was Karen Kingston, former Pfizer employee. That was my third time to have her
Ah,
on.
yes, I've seen her in other platforms. I couldn't see her, I could just hear her, and it was very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely powerful. Well, I wanted to have you on tonight, and I'm going to try to make my way over here to this article. I'm going to let's see, let's go to leohoman.com. I'll try to bring this up here. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay, Logan, you want to show this screen? You can. All right, this is by Patrick Wood. You republished it. Patrick couldn't be with us tonight. He's traveling. What happens when the technocrats hold all the cards? This fits so well with what she and I have been talking about for the
Yes,
last hour and
I
10 minutes. You want to explain why it
yes,
fits so well?
I was listening to her and I was just amazed that I don't know who she is and she doesn't know who I am, but she really synopsized a lot of the same themes that are within this article I published by Patrick Wood on my website today, leohoman.com, and many of the other articles I personally have written on that website over the recent weeks. Wow, that I was spellbound listening to her. But this article, that's my title on his article. What happens when the technocrats hold all the cards? This is a must-read article by Patrick Wood, folks. Patrick has been studying technocracy for almost longer than I've been alive. Uh, he started out with Dr. Anthony Sutton.
He's
Dr.
that old, is
Sutton,
he? I'm sure he appreciates that. He's that old, is he?
he's older than he looks. I'll just say that.
Yeah,
he
because
does. He does.
he looks pretty young.
He does. He looks maybe 5 years older than me, but he's probably 15 years,
Okay, I didn't realize
at
that.
least 15 years older than me. But anyway, he studied under Dr. Anthony Sutton at Stanford University Hoover Institute and co-authored the book Trilaterals over Washington in, I believe it was the very early 70s, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been the late 70s. But anyway, he is the foremost authority in the world on technocracy. So what is technocracy? Let's start with that.
Okay.
Technocracy is the science of social engineering. So what does it want? We know what it is. What do they want, these technocrats? The end goal of technocracy is a scientific dictatorship where you basically have no more elected leaders. If you do, they're just mere figureheads. They take their orders from the bureaucrats and the big corporate honchos. And the goal is total dictatorship, which I believe we are starting to see unfold here in America and the world. Uh, we see what's going on in Australia. We see what's going on in France with armed guards standing outside of grocery stores now, asking people to show their digital papers to prove that they've been vaccinated. And if they can't do that, Brannon, they're not allowed in the store. And this is being enforced but now by armed guards. Imagine that in a formerly free country like France or Australia. In Australia, they're rounding up children, 16, 17 years old, herding them into a sports arena and forcibly vaccinating them without their parents' consent.
And for those
And
who say that's fake news, because I've read that that's fake news reports, and knowing you're such a careful journalist, my guess is you have verified that this is not a fake news report.
absolutely, I saw it was a Australian very high up military veteran being interviewed about this, and he was very much up on the details of it. It wasn't children like was first reported. You picture what 5, 6, 7, 8 year olds. It was mostly 17-year-olds, but that is technically a child if you're under 18, right?
Right.
Uh, yeah,
And by the way, we
and
played the video from Australia the other night. We played it a couple times. Their news over there. The police telling you if you don't have a good reason to be outside, you better stay inside or you could be criminally charged. So they're all under house arrest. They were telling construction workers,
Yes.
where are your papers? Let me see your papers. And they didn't have their papers in order, and they sent them home. So they're destroying businesses. They're destroying lives. They're arresting people. Some young people that wanted to be outside, and why would they not want to be? They were looking at a $1,000 fine. A professional soccer player who was out on the interstate and traveling to go visit friends or whatever, he's looking at potential criminal charges. I mean, they have turned it. That is a police state. That is martial law.
Listen, Brannon, and all the listeners and viewers out there. If you don't have the freedom of travel, the freedom of movement, then that is the very definition of a police state. If you have got to go through multiple checkpoint Charlies after leaving your house just to get to the grocery store, that may be a mile away or 2 miles away, then if they can stop your freedom of movement, they can control what you put in your body, then you no longer own your own body, okay? And that is game over. Game over. People, wake up. It's happening all over the world, and America is in the line of fire right now as we speak. Brannon, I spoke with a friend of mine in Michigan this evening, right before we got on the air here. She was in tears. She is in her 30s, young woman of childbearing age. She works in home health care, and she's resisted the shot all this time. I've been feeding her information a lot, like I do with a lot of my friends. She knew everything that was going on. They basically ambushed her and the other employees who had not yet gotten the shot. They were ambushed yesterday when they came into the office. They took them into a room, they surrounded them, and they said, "You will get the shot right now or don't come into work tomorrow." She got it. She got it.
Peer pressure, bullying, and peer pressure.
They surprised them, right? When if they knew tomorrow was the deadline, okay, you might psych yourself up and talk yourself, have a come to Jesus moment and be strong to resist the next day. But no, what did they do? They surprised them, got them in a room and said, "Take it now or you're fired." And this woman, she has a house, she has a mortgage payment, she has to care for her elderly sick father and her sick uncle, and a mother who's not well as well. She has a lot of responsibility on her, and all she could think of was, "I'm going to lose my house. I'm not going to be able to care for my dad and my uncle, and and everything's going to be over for me." So she wilted under the pressure and the sheer overwhelming pressure of the moment under this, what I call an ambush attack. And
Absolutely.
This is happening all over America right now. It disgusts me. And the next thing, nobody is going to be able to avoid this. I've been saying for months now, if you think you're sitting high and dry, you think you're sitting pretty, and you're going to ride this thing out, you are deceiving yourself.
Absolutely.
This is going to come for every single American at some point. I don't care if you're retired and you just live on a Social Security check. I don't care if you have a veteran's pension. I don't care if you're in the military, out of the military, retired, working a job. It's coming for you. You are going to have to make a decision. And you better darn well be ready for it when it comes. Because it may come when you least expect it.
I'm going back to sorry I had my head turned, look at my computer, because I wanted to bring Karen Kingston's PowerPoint back up, because I want to put that Nuremberg trial back up there. Nuremberg Code that came out of Nazi Germany, because of Nazi Germany, the Nuremberg trial, the Nuremberg codes, because of the medical testing they were doing in the concentration camps, right? I mean, Come on. And by the way, go look up the connection between the Rockefellers and the concentration camps. Go look up the connection between the Rockefellers and the, quote, science and experiments. Go look up the Rockefellers and the connection to pharmacy. And by the way, what does the word pharmacia come from? Pharmakia. In the Bible, the word is pharmakia, witchcraft, sorcery. It is of the demonic realm. What are they doing now? They're using pharmacy to push a demonic agenda. And the Nuremberg trial and the Nuremberg codes, because of the Holocaust, says you can't do what they're doing to this lady in Michigan under duress. Look at number one. Look at just number one. You can't do this. Coercion.
Right.
Duress, deceit, fraud,
yes.
overreach. This has to be a free choice. Exercise free power of choice.
And this
now,
was the
she ought to get an attorney and sue the living daylights out of that corporation. Because the government might be able to give a pass to some of these pharmacies or pharmaceutical companies because of the laws written in the 80s. But these corporations, I don't think they're going to get the waiver. So she ought to contact Matt Staver at the Liberty Counsel or some of these other attorneys. I'm not a big guy on suing, but I hope any of these corporations that force this on any employee are sued and collapse. And whatever money they have is divided among the people they force this on.
Yes. So, yeah, you're exactly right, Brannon. But back to my point, I think the stage that we're at right now globally, whether it be Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United States, they're going for broke, these technocrats. And that's what Patrick's article is about. He has tracked them historically. And he wrote a book in 2015 about this technocratic movement. I have it on my shelf here. But he said in that book that they would reach
Technocracy Rising, the Trojan horse of global transformation. He wrote it in 2015. Is that what you're referring to?
That's it. And he said in that book, Brannon, that there would come a day when these technocrats basically have all their key players in all the key places. And it would be like a situation of Katie bar the door. They're going for broke. Now is their moment. It's full spectrum dominance, game on. And this is the point I think we've now reached. He said that he knew that it was coming. He didn't know what the fulcrum event would be. He didn't know that it would be a global pandemic, but he knew it was coming when he wrote that book in 2015. Why? Because he studied Nazi Germany. And Nazi Germany, you could make a great argument that Nazi Germany was actually the world's first full-on technocracy. They didn't have all of the technocratic tools that we have today, obviously, but they used everything at their disposal to surveil, monitor, assess, and inventory everything from all resources to all human assets. And that's what technocracy does. They want to own everything, including our bodies, we now find out.
Let's read a paragraph from his book, Patrick Wood's book, Technocracy Rising, the Trojan Horse of Global Transformation. Quote, when studying the you're going to show this, Logan? Thumbs up if you got that. When studying the progression of Nazi Germany leading up to Hitler's assumption of complete power, I've often theorized that there was very likely a specific point in time when he realized that he had all the political, military, organizational, and economic power necessary to declare himself dictator. Hitler had declared his intentions in his 1925 book, Mein Kampf, which was mostly ignored at the time because it was written by a trouble-making, rabble-rouser who was serving time in jail for what he claimed were political crimes. But Hitler had a dream and a strategy to get there, and then he embarked on implementing that strategy. In 1933, after he clawed and convinced his way into power, he pulled the plug and declared himself dictator. There was nothing anyone could do about it. To oppose him meant certain death or imprisonment. His work and strategy, like moving the pieces on a chessboard, had resulted in a doomsday checkmate. My point is that it didn't happen by accident or even by a series of random events where one day he just woke up and thought, I think I will announce my dictatorship after lunch today. Rather, Hitler was certainly gathering pieces of his empire all along, analyzing and plotting his victory with excruciating detail. As the necessary assets were lined up in a row under his control, Hitler knew exactly what it would take to get to the top. And he knew he would know when he had arrived. Well, that day arrived, and history was changed forever. Based on this thinking, if today's technocrats are meticulously working toward a scientific dictatorship and applying a specific strategy to get there, wouldn't you think that they have a specific list of criteria that must be met before game over can be called? Wouldn't you think that they are comparing such a list to the actual progress they are making in the world? Wouldn't you think that they are monitoring their progress and will recognize when the list has been fulfilled. If you can see my point here, then there are only two questions left. When that day comes, when the technocrats have the guts to shut the old world order down and simply declare the system as dictator. If so, how long will it take them to act? Well, of course, they have the guts to shut down the old world. They have the guts to shut down the old world order. They have done it, haven't they? They have declared the system as dictator. Isn't it this exactly what big tech and big pharma are telling us? I think this is Leo writing now. So what about all the other initiatives that technocracy has been known for? Smart grid, controlling the use and distribution of energy, Internet of everything. What can be connected will be connected. 5G, to conduct the IoE. Surveillance, everything is monitored and tracked. Smart cities, using IoE to socially engineer the entire city. Those are all advancing on other fronts. But the main column, medical tyranny, is the shock and awe phenomenon that is sucking all the oxygen out of the room. Globally, nationally, locally, in the workplace, in the hospitals and clinic, in the corporate world, in churches, in neighborhoods, in families. And such then, the pandemic and all it surrounds is the only story that counts right now. And that's why Technocracy News and Trends will continue to report on it. I don't know at what point I was quoting you or quoting him. Was that all him?
That's all him. The first part, though, was from his book.
Okay.
And he ended that by asking a question back in 2015, mind you. Will the technocrats have the guts to shut down the old world order and simply declare the system as dictator? If so, how long will it take them to act? And so he was asking us sort of a pejorative question there, hypothetical, and then he comes out of his book and starts writing right now, and he says, yes, they had the guts. They're doing it right now, and they're using the pandemic as the trigger to declare the system that they have been setting up all these years as the dictator.
Wow. Well, look at this tonight over at my website, worldviewreport.com. Dr. Fauci says Pfizer FDA approval will bring a lot more COVID vaccine mandates.
Right. And who is Dr. Fauci? He is nothing but a two-bit federal bureaucrat, but you've got him on the news every night of the mainstream media dictating not only what is happening now, but what he is foreshadowing for you what is going to happen in the weeks and months ahead. Listen to these people. They're very evil. I know they're difficult to listen to, people like Fauci and Gates. But when they speak, it's for a reason. And so you can find out what's going to happen in the weeks and months ahead by listening to these people. The mandates are coming, people. We've got to be ready to set up an alternative economy, an entire alternative community where we can support each other, because we are going to lose our jobs. We're going to lose we're going to lose our health care, our health insurance. We're going to lose, if you're retired, you're going to lose. I don't want to spread fear, people, but it's coming. You're going to lose your Social Security check. Okay? Maybe not this year. It could come next year or the year after. But that Social Security check, trust me, is going to be tied to your obedience to this new dictatorial system that's being set up as we speak.
Yep. Let's go to worldviewreport.com again. Then you've got, to add fuel to the fire, Biden plans to bring 50,000 Afghans to the U.S. without visas. So bring a bunch of jihadis over here. Let's watch what happens. By the way, Leo wrote a book on the red-green axis. He knows all about this.
The book is Stealth Invasion. Exactly. And that's a whole separate issue that actually is related to what's going to be happening, because they know that our U.S. patriotic servicemen are not going to fire on the American people. Absolutely. But now they've got an entire jihadi army waiting in the wings to do the dirty work.
Well, look at this.
This is another thing to pay attention to, Brannon, is what are they going to do with our military men and women who refuse this shot? Are they going to dishonorably discharge them? Are they going to discharge them at all? Or are they going to keep them on base where they'll be basically prisoners and locked down on base, unable to do their jobs, but also not able to go out into the community where they could be dangerous in the times ahead, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and look at this. 94.7% of people evacuated by U.S. from Afghanistan are not Americans.
Correct.
Think that's on purpose? Sure, it's on purpose.
Absolutely.
By the way, let me if you go to worldviewreport.com tonight, look at this one right here. I've only got about another 4 minutes to go because I need to get out early tonight to make way for the live show of Diamond and Silk, and Logan in the control room. Need time to get them up and
I
get them
see
all
them
dialed
waiting in the control room.
Oh,
and,
good.
I'll
So
be
we're
real excited to listen to them.
Yeah. So we're going to quit in about 4 minutes here to give them the control room time to get ready for their show at top of the hour. Look at this is at worldviewreport.com. List released of Pelosi's January 6 witch hunt targets. I bet you haven't even heard this tonight, Leo. I click on it, brings us over to the website of my buddy J.D. Rucker, okay? And it's about what they're doing. And if you click on the letter, committee chairman Benny G. Thompson sent a request for a voluminous amount of records to the U.S. archivist David S. Ferrerio. Okay, so this would, I guess, at the archives is where they collect up all the anything that has come into the White House, communications, and all that stuff is boxed up and it's saved and it's put over at the archivist for historical reasons or legal reasons or whatever. And it's not working. Here we go. Now it's coming up. Normally when I click on it, it would bring up the whole page. I don't know why it's not doing that. But here, let's see if I can get it to open up all the way. But anyway, what this is, okay, what this letter is right there. Select committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. Wait a minute. I thought the FBI just released, according to Reuters, that there was no, concerted effort here to attack anybody. Nothing going on here. But look at the long list. You'll have to go through this. The long list of people they're wanting to know if there's any communications on and when. Everybody from Mark Meadows. You just keep on going down that list. You've got Peter Navarro. You've got all kinds of people on there, right? Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, Laura Trump, Steve Bannon. You've got Melania Trump, Roger Stone, who was on with me last night. You keep going, and you keep getting all of these names. Now, this is also within the actual paragraphs. You see names of people: Rudy Giuliani. You see Sidney Powell, Kurt Olson. I know some of these people personally. Jason Miller. And then look at number 9 on page 9. I'm going to skip to page 9. Page 9. Look at all that long list of people. Greg Locke. I think that guy's a pastor. A lot of those names some of you may or may not know. Gina Loudon, isn't she a doctor? I think she's over at Real America's News. Jack Kozibek. I see him on Twitter and follow him on Twitter. I think I saw Michael Flynn's name in here. I saw a lot of names I recognized. But then I go on to page 9. Page 9, and where is it? I saw a name I recognized. I saw a name, if you guys see where it is here, page 9. It was the name of, here it is. Page 9, number 5, from April 1st, 2023, January 2021, all documents and communications relating to challenging the validity of the 2020 election to, from, or mentioning Mike Lindell. This appears to be nothing but a gigantic list coming from Nancy Pelosi's stooges in the Congress, continuing to push the false narrative of January 6th. Mike Lindell wasn't even a part of this, period. The FBI's even put out a report stating that there was no evidence of a coordinated or attack or effort. We showed that screenshot earlier tonight in the PowerPoint that I showed. If I can find it, bring it back up. I don't know if I have time to do that, but I had it in my PowerPoint earlier tonight that there was no coordinated effort. Open recent, tonight's PowerPoint, bring that up. Okay, boom. Let's see, there it is. Show that. FBI finds scant evidence of U.S. Capitol attack was coordinated. Source. Yet, my friends, there's the list. This is not over yet. They are still going to try to bring down the hammer. Leo, I got to have you give closing comments and wrap for Diamond and Silk coming up.
Yes. We are at our Rubicon moment. The technocrats are crossing the Rubicon. They're coming in full spectrum dominance, wanting to dominate us and make us their slaves.
Breaking news.
Yes, give it to me.
No, that's not. That's older news, but it's an important article, so I'll wait on that.
My point is, Brannon, we need to all get on board Now is the time for everyone to speak their mind and speak out and say, no, we will not go there with this dictatorship. It is becoming obvious to even the average American that we are heading towards dictatorship.
Yep.
They
Yep.
don't understand how we got here, but they know we're at a critical moment. Now's the time to
Absolutely.
speak your mind. Now's the time to make your stand. As your previous guest said, get out there to your local school board, your local county commissioners, your city council, start at the local level and push back hard.
And get your sheriff on your side.
Yes, absolutely. He's a
Leo
key person.
Hohmann, leohohmann.com, LeoHohmann, leohohmann.com. Thank you for being with us, Leo.
As always, it was my pleasure, Brannon.